So, what is environmental science? Environmental science, it is an interdisciplinary field that studies environmental systems. It is inherently interdisciplinary, drawing from fields such as chemistry, evolutionary biology, ecology, physics, mathematics, oceanography, geology, earth science, and more. Meaning, it refers to a grouping of scientific disciplines that are all concerned with the physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of the surroundings in which organisms live. By its nature, therefore, environmental science is interdisciplinary. In other words, it is a study of living organisms and how they interact with our environment. Often referred to as ecology, environmental scientists aim to understand our surroundings better by utilizing different fields and combining the various findings. So, what is the relationship between environmental science and environmental sustainability? If we say environmental science, it tends to focus on understanding the processes that operate in the natural environment. Also, covers human impacts on the environment like land, air, water, ice, and current problems the environment is facing. Example, global warming, acid rain, ozone hole, overfishing, and etc. The study of environmental science will keep us informed about environmental problems such as global warming, climate change, depletion of ozone layer, acid rains, and negative impacts of microplastics on marine environment and biodiversity, which are not only national or local problems but global problem as well. Take note that environmental science is a way of managing our existing so as to maximize human success while minimizing the negative aspects. On the other hand, when we say environmental sustainability, it tends to take a slightly broader look, including studying sustainability concepts. It also covers ways and solutions that society can adapt to achieve environmental sustainability. So, it is the responsibility to conserve natural resources and protect global ecosystem to support health and well-being now and in the future. Environmental sustainability aims to improve the quality of human life without putting unnecessary strain on the Earth's supporting system. Avoiding the use of plastic bags to keep the oceans clean is one of the examples of environmental society.
Now, I will be discussing about the major branches of environmental science. So, environmental science has four major branches, namely atmospheric sciences, ecology, environmental chemistry, and geosciences. Now, let's talk first about atmospheric sciences. So, atmospheric science is the study of Earth's atmosphere and its various inner working physical processes. So, it is very clear that this branch of environmental science is a kind of study that focuses specifically on Earth's atmosphere and its physical processes such as radiative, cloud and precipitation, turbulent mixing, and exchange. So, moreover, this science focus also in conducting like weather analysis, circulation of atmosphere, unpredictability of climate and global change in our environment, and etc. So one of the example of atmospheric science, or it is an or example of a situation or problems, is the continuing increase in the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, which lead to an increase in the global near surface air temperature. The study of atmospheric processes or atmospheric sciences was called meteorology. So the meteorology includes atmospheric chemistry and atmospheric physics that with a major focus on weather forecasting. So atmospheric chemistry is a branch of atmospheric science in which the chemistry of the Earth, atmosphere, and that of other planets is studied. So in short, this study about the chemical composition of our natural atmosphere, either it's solid, liquid, or gas. When we talk about atmospheric physics, it is a vital part of a weather forecast model and is often referred to as the physical parameterization. So when we say physical parameterization, it is a method of replacing processes that are too complex to be physically represented in the model by a simplified process. So example is the parameterization of weather and climate. So on the other hand, atmospheric physics is an application of physics to the study of the atmosphere, where the atmospheric physicist attempts to model Earth's atmosphere and the atmosphere of the other planets by using fluid flow equation, chemical models, radiation and energy transfer processes in the atmosphere. So the thing that we need to remember is that atmospheric chemistry play a significant role in controlling climate change, while atmospheric physics play a role of presenting physical processes in the atmosphere that governs interaction, movement, and behavior of atmospheric and environmental phenomena. Now, let's proceed to the second branches of environmental science. So the second branch is the ecology. When we say ecology, it is the interaction between organisms and their environment. So yes, it is about the study of relationship of living organisms and their physical environments or their habitats. So when we say living organisms, it refers to human, animals, trees, and etc. While when we say physical environment, like our nature, oceans, forests, and etc. So example, the relation of humans to animals or plants. So this science or study focuses on that. There are some types of ecology: the global, landscape, ecosystem, community, population, organismal, and molecular. So, when we say global ecology, those that deals with interaction among Earth ecosystem, land, atmosphere, and oceans. Then landscape, those that deals with the exchange of energy, materials, organisms, and other products of ecosystem. While when we say ecosystem ecology, those that deals with the entire ecosystem, including the study of living and non-living components and their relationship with the environment. However, when we say community ecology, it refers to those that deals on how community structure is modified by interactions among living organisms, while population ecology, those that deals with factors that alter and impact the genetic composition and the size of the population of organisms. Organismal ecology is a study of an individual organisms when it comes to their behavior, physiology, morphology, and etc. in response to environmental challenges. Then the last, molecular ecology. It is a study that focuses on the production of the proteins and how these proteins will affect the organisms and their environment. Now, let's proceed to the third branches of environmental science. Environmental chemistry. It is the study of chemical alternations in the environment. So, when we say chemical alternations, it is something that related to or involve reactions and changes of an object. For example, the chemical alternations of a rock involves chemical weathering, in which the mineral compositions of the rock is changed, reorganized, and redistributed. That shows a study of a chemical alternation. So, this branch of environmental science focuses on the chemical processes influencing the composition and chemical speciation of natural systems like air, water, and soils. So, environmental chemistry includes some topics like astrochemistry, atmospheric chemistry, environmental modeling, geochemistry, marine chemistry, and pollution remediation. Okay, now let's proceed to the last branches of environmental science, which is the geosciences. So, geosciences is the study of the effects of natural processes on the environment. So, in other term or in short, it is the study of Earth. This is a branch of science dealing with the physical, chemical, and biological complex constitution. So, it includes the study about ecology, atmospheric sciences, oceanography, and seismology. And synergistic linkages of Earth four spheres, namely biosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and geosphere. Biosphere that is made up of all parts of Earth where life exists. So in short, the all ecosystems. So example of biosphere is deserts, tropical rainforests, oceans, and etc. Hydrosphere is the total amount of water on a planet. The hydrosphere includes water that is on the surface of the planet, underground, and in the water. So, planet hydrosphere can be liquid, vapor, or ice. And the hydrosphere on the surface that exists water like rivers, oceans, and lakes. Then, atmosphere is the layer of gases surrounding a planet or other celestial body. Earth's atmosphere that composes 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases. Then the last, the geosphere, it is the Earth itself, which is important because it is where all terrestrial organisms, including human life. So geosphere is associated with solid portions of the Earth, and it composes rocks, minerals, landforms of the surface.
Good day, everyone. So for now, we will be focusing on ecology and ecosystems. Ecology is the interaction between organisms and their environment, and we are one of these organisms. Ecosystem is a community of interdependent organisms and their environment. Ecology. The meaning of the word ecology was given by German biologist Haeckel in 1869. The word ecology is derived from Greek words oikos meaning house, habitat or place of living, and logos meaning to study. ecology is the scientific study of interactions between different organisms and their environment or surroundings. Ecology is also a study that determines how different organisms interact with each other, and it is also concerned on how the organisms are interrelated with their physical and biological environment. Ecosystem. The term ecosystem was first proposed by A.J. Transley in 1935. Ecosystem is made up of two words, eco and system. Eco means environment and system means an interacting and interdependent complex. Ecosystem is defined as a natural ecological unit comprising of living organisms and their non-living environment that interact to form a stable self-supporting system. Also, ecosystem is the system resulting from the interaction between living organisms and their environment. For example, pond, lake, desert, ecosystem, and etc. Ecology is a study of environmental system. Ecology is the study of the relationships between living organisms, including humans, and their physical environment. It seeks to understand the vital connection between plants and animals and the world around them. Ecology helps us to understand why living and non-living organisms survive in this physical world. Like for example, the plants. In order for them to survive, they need a lot of factors like air, water, sunlight, and etc. It is the same also for us humans. We need food, water, shelter, clothing, etc. to survive. Ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of living things that interact with each other and with the physical world. Ecosystem is the environment where living things such as plants, animals, and us humans live. It is the physical environment that enables them to interact or socialize with each other. And without ecosystem, all living things cannot survive in this physical world because they cannot find a food, a oxygen, a shelter, and etc. The four spheres of ecosystem. Lithosphere. It is defined as the rock and grass surface that covers the earth. It shields living organisms from the heat of the earth's core and contains ionic compounds which allow plant and animal life to exist. The examples of lithosphere are metamorphic rocks, sedimentary rocks, igneous rocks, granite, and soil. Like for example, the soil. It allows many plants to exist because the soil has many minerals that can be absorbed by the plants in order for them to grow healthy. Hydrosphere. It includes water that is on the surface of the planet, underground, and in the air. A planet's hydrosphere can be liquid, vapor, or ice. On Earth, liquid water exists on the surface in the form of oceans, lakes, and rivers. All the oceans like Pacific, Indian, Atlantic, Arctic, and Antarctic oceans are considered as the hydrosphere, and especially the seas. The Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Arctic Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and the Red Sea. It is all considered as the hydrosphere of the Earth. Atmosphere. The atmosphere and the Earth's ecosystem are parts of a coupled system. For a large variety of processes, forcing from one partner in the interaction elicits one or more responses from the other partner, which in turn elicits other responses from the first. The atmosphere protects life on Earth by shielding it from ultraviolet or UV radiation, keeping the planet warm through insulation and preventing extremes between day and night temperatures. Biosphere. The biosphere, also known as the ecosphere, is the worldwide sum of all ecosystems. It can also be termed the zone of life in Earth. The biosphere is virtually a closed system with regard to matter, with minimal inputs and outputs. The biosphere is made up of the parts of the Earth where life exists, all ecosystems. The biosphere extends from deepest roots of systems of trees to the dark environments of ocean trenches, the lush rain forest, high mountain tops, and transition zone where ocean and terrestrial ecosystem meet.
You have heard about the biosphere from the previous discussion, which is also known as the zone of life on Earth. Now we will be focusing about the levels of organization or the levels of composition before it became as the whole biosphere. The levels of organization starts from the organelle, then to the cell, to the tissue, then organ system, then organisms, population, community, ecosystem, and finally it became as the whole biosphere. First, we will be discussing about the first level of organization, which is the organelles. It is Organelles is also known as the little organ, and that can be found inside the cell. Organelles structures that perform various jobs inside the cell. Organelles are responsible for helping the cell to perform its own function inside our body. Organelles serves specific functions to keep a cell alive. So organelles have a specific rules inside the cell. For example, the mitochondria. It is responsible for powering the cell. The chloroplast, it is an organelle which can be found in the plant cell and it is responsible for enabling green plants to utilize the sunlight for it to make sugar on its own. Then the nucleus, and another example of organelles are the lysosomes, and the ribosomes, the endoplasmic reticulum, and there are many more organelles inside the cell. Then next to the organelle is the cell. The cell is the composition of many organelles. So the cell, it is the basic unit of life and the smallest unit that is capable of reproduction. Here in cell, you can find the DNA, which is needed for the reproduction, or there's a gene type that can be responsible for the replicating of genetic materials that you can find there inside the cell. Then the cell mostly combine to form tissues, but some are found independent of solid tissues. And example of cell are the red blood cells, which is that is circulating in the bloodstream, that is carrying oxygen throughout the human body. Then next to the cell is tissues. So the tissues are groups of similar cells that carry specific functions. Humans have four different tissues, which is the connective tissues, and the muscle tissues, the epithelial tissues, and the nervous tissues. These connective tissues are responsible for giving shape and structures to organ. The muscle tissues responsible for allowing the animal and human to move. The epithelial tissues make up the outer layer of organs such as the skin, and the fourth is nervous tissues, which is responsible for transmitting information through impulses. No, the tissues. Remember that the tissues are composed of similar cells that carry specific function. Then next to tissues are organs. What is organs? Organs are made up of different tissues that perform specific bodily functions. Example of organs are the hearts, the lungs, the brains, and there are many more organs inside our body. And it has also specific functions um, to help our body move specifically in our daily lives. There is all I believe that all organs are necessary for us to live in a good conditions. The next to organs is the organ system. What is organ system? Organ system is the collection of organs to perform complex function in the body. There are many organ system inside our body, and I guess that there are 11. There are 11 system organ system inside our body, and some example of these are the digestive system. Digestive system, it is responsible for digesting the food that we eat, or even or absorbing and nutrients that we need for us to have the energy to do the activities in our daily lives, no? Then another example is the respiratory system. It is responsible for our breathing or gas exchanging. Through respiratory system, we can inhale oxygen and we can exhale carbon dioxide. So there are specific functions in every organ system, and that's just example of the organ system. There are many organ system inside our body for us to do our daily task, no? Then next to organ system are the organisms. Each organisms are composed of many organ system. Remember that all organisms are composed of all organ system for us to do our daily works, for us to have a good conditions in our daily life, no? Organisms are individual living entities. For example of organisms as human, or each tree in a forest, or each animal in the house. That's an example of organisms. All the animals that you can see, that's even it is very small for your naked eye, it is one of the organism that we are talking now. And the next organisms is the population. What is population? The population, all the individuals of a species that lived in a specific area. Populations, when we say populations, it is a number of organisms that lived in that specific area. For example, the pine trees in a forest. We are talking about the population of pine trees that are living in a forest. Another example is that the animals in the forest, or to be specific, the snake that lived in the forest. So we're talking about the population of the snakes that are living in that specific forest, and that is the population. The individual that is living in a specific area. The next to population is the community. Community is the sum of the populations inhabiting in a specific area. The community is the sum of the population. It is the diverse, it is the place where diverse species or diverse organisms live in that specific area. For example, the trees, the flowers, the insects, and the other population in the forest from the forest country. So the forest that have composed of trees, flowers, insects, and other population um, is called forest community. Keep in mind that the community level of biological organization consists only all the living organisms. No? Then next community is the ecosystem. The ecosystem consists of all living things together with the non-living part of the environment. So the ecosystem consists of all living things. For us to have the idea, ecosystem is it is a group or composed of many community. No, ecosystem composed of many community, but community only consists of living organisms. Here in ecosystem, the living things together with the non-living part of the environment, or the ecosystem is the community of biotic and non-biotic components. So to have the idea, the ecosystem is the community of biotic and non-biotic components. What is this biotic? Biotic are those living things or the living organisms that lived in a specific area. For example, is the fish, all the animals, the trees, the whatever the living organisms that live in a specific area. Then non-biotic components are, for example, the air, the land, the water, the sunlight, that are non-biotic. So if it is when it is composed or it is group of non-biotic and biotic components, so it is called a ecosystem. That's the difference of ecosystem and the community. The community composed only the living organisms, while the ecosystem is the community of biotic and non-biotic, or the non-living things or living things. Next to ecosystem is finally the biosphere. The biosphere is a collection of all ecosystem. It represents the zone of life on Earth. Includes the land, the water, and even the atmosphere to a certain extent. Here in biosphere, this is the collection of all ecosystem, considering also the atmosphere where all the living things lived. No, the biosphere are composed of all the ecosystem that also it is represents as the zone of life on Earth. And that's the end. I know. Right? So in all, the level of organization starts from organelles, then followed by cells, then followed by tissues, then group of tissues are the organs, then group of organs are the organ systems, group of organ system, then you can make an organism, then group of organisms are the populations, and the sum of the populations are called communities. Then the sum of the communities is the ecosystem. Then all of the ecosystem were called the biosphere. Then I hope you have learned something today, and thank you for listening.